Today we're going to make Peach Cobbler Moonshine. So it's just my rendition of what Peach Cobbler Moonshine may taste like. I've got all my ingredients right here. It's pretty simple. I've made apple pie shine in the past, and it's basically the same thing. I'm just switching out apples for peaches and peach juice. So I'm gonna go over the ingredients with you guys. So you just need, depending on how much you want to make, I don't really measure a lot of stuff, but I'll try to get it all together to put the recipe down in the description. But you're gonna need brown sugar, you're gonna need some yellow sliced peaches in their juice because you're gonna use the whole thing. And you're gonna use, they ran out of Everclear, but you need Everclear or just grain alcohol. You need one of the strong ones. And then I have spiced rum. I'll use a little bit of that as well. And I have some white cranberry and peach juice. I've got 2 of those. Now I was looking for the white grape and peach, but this will work the same. And then I have 2 Simply Peaches peach juice. My vanilla and butter extract. This is what's going to give it the cobbler taste. And then of course cinnamon and cinnamon sticks to go in the mason jars when we're done. So I'm going to set my camera up real quick, and then we'll get to pouring everything in our pot and start boiling it up and letting it come together. Okay, so I've got my pot ready, and I'm using this giant stock pot. So this is normally what I would use for canning, but since I'm adding a lot of liquid, I need a really deep pot. So this is what I'm going to be using. Let me get my peaches opened up and all the seals broken, and then we'll start mixing everything. So I should probably mention that you'll also need some mason jars. I always get the wide mouth, that's just a preference, but depending on how much you're making, I actually have 2 of these cases, and you can get any size jar you want. It can be a big one, little one. They come in quarts, they come in half gallons and gallons, just depending on where you want to store them. I typically give mine as gifts, so I keep them in smaller jars. If this is for something you're just gonna drink at home, you can always use an empty gallon jug. It's totally up to you how you want to do that. But yeah, definitely make sure you have whatever you're gonna put your Peach Cobbler Moonshine in when you're done. Make sure you have it ready and sanitized once everything cools and is mixed. Okay, I got my peaches opened. I opened all my bottles. Make sure you shake up your Simply Peaches because they tend to settle on the bottom. And everything is ready to pour in the stock pot. And I got my helper right over here supervising. So let's get started. Okay, so we're gonna turn the stove on high at first. Once we get it to a simmer, then we'll lower it and we'll just reduce it. So we're gonna put our peaches in. You wanna put the whole cans in there. When we're done, the peaches are you're gonna try to put 1 to 2 peaches in your jars. Now we're not going to add the alcohol until all of this has been cooked and simmered and reduced and cooled off, because you don't want the alcohol to cook off. So now we're going to put in our cranberry and peach juice. You're going to put both of those in there. It already smells so good. Now our Simply Peach. Sorry if you hear my dog out there barking. Okay, so now we're gonna add the brown sugar. And I just use this. You can use any kind of brown sugar, it doesn't really matter. And some people use white sugar and brown sugar to make it really sweet. Just because I know this looks like a lot of sugar, but you really need to think about when you're cutting it with 190 proof grain alcohol. So that sugar is really gonna help minimize the burn of that alcohol. So put a couple of handfuls. Uh-oh. And that's good. Yeah, I use my hands for everything. I have measuring cups and mason jars, but I'm country, so I measure everything with my hands. Let me tie this back up. And all we have left to put in is the cinnamon. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put the vanilla and the butter extract in here now. But I will also put some more in once everything is done and cooled off, but not very much. Just a lot of this may cook out in the boiling process because it's mostly, well, it's alcohol based. So to make sure it still has the flavor, I'll add more at the end once I taste it and see if it needs it. Okay, so that's the vanilla. And again, I use butter just because I've used it in the apple pie and it really does, it helps you with that savory that a cobbler has. And I mean, honestly, butter on anything is better. So if I can get this open with my fingernails. Okay, there we go. So, and just a little bit of that. That smells so good. So, and then I'm just gonna put the rest of my cinnamon, which I may end up adding some more cinnamon, but I'm also putting cinnamon sticks in. So again, once everything's boiled and cooled off, I'm gonna taste it before I add the alcohol. So put a couple of cinnamon sticks in there and we stir it up. Should have been a little more prepared for the stirring part. Okay, so just gonna stir this up one good time, and then we're gonna let it come to a small boil, or just until I see it steaming and I know everything is melted and married together, and then we'll bring it down, let it simmer for about, we'll let it cook on low rather for about maybe 15-20 minutes, and then we'll let it sit and cool. So also you want to keep your workspace kind of clean because this is a lot of sugar and it gets really sticky, and you'll notice by the end of everything will be sticky. So that's another good tip for this. Also, I'll take this down so I can show you. Also, with your mason jars, if you can, like if you buy them new, keep this plastic piece on the bottom. That's what I do, because when I get ready to fill my jars, you're gonna have some spillage. I mean, that's just, it's gonna happen. So it's a good thing to think about. You're gonna get spills down in the bottom. It's better for it to end up in this plastic than all over your counters, and it's just gonna be a big sticky mess. Of course, once your jars, you know, are done and closed and they've sat for a minute, you can clean them all off and label them. But we'll get to that part. Now we're gonna let this cook down, and look at that. That's smells so good, y'all. Once we get a boil, we'll be ready to let it sit. You guys hear that? So it's starting to bubble and it's simmering a little bit, and it smells amazing. It smells exactly like peach cobbler, what it would smell like if it's in the oven. So it hasn't quite come to a boil yet, but you can kind of see it's foaming a little bit. So it's getting ready to, but again, this is a really big pot, so it's just gonna give it a few more minutes, and then we'll give it a few more stirs. Actually, I'll go ahead and stir it up a little bit now. Make sure you get the bottom good so you can get anything that might have settled on the bottom, get it mixed back up. You may need a longer spoon than what I'm using because I almost burned my finger. Right. And just give it a few more minutes and we'll be back. Alright. So this is about as hot as we want it to get. So now we're gonna come over here and cut this off. I'm gonna cover it, and we're just gonna let this sit for about 25 minutes, and we'll be back. Okay, so it's cooled down enough for us to go ahead and mix everything in. I know it's still steaming, but that's okay. We do want it to be just a little bit warm when we can it, just so it will lock the lid. It'll suck it in, it'll vacuum it. So now we're going to add, first, and taste it. That is so good, y'all. Now we're going to go ahead and add in the Everclear and the spiced rum. I'm actually going to add both of these bottles, and probably going to throw a little bit more vanilla and butter extract in there as well. First, oh, and this is a, what is this, a liter? Okay, so that's a liter, and the second one, and now for the spiced rum. And I'm not going to put all of this in there. Probably just maybe 3 cups. Now we're just gonna stir this up really good. And now we are ready to start jarring. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a peach in each jar and a piece of cinnamon stick. Ouch. They're still a little warm. And you can also use fresh peaches too if you don't want to reuse these. It's totally up to you. Okay, and I'm just taking a Pyrex glass measuring cup, and then I will start filling them. I'm gonna get it as close to the top as I can. So right there, yeah. so I'm gonna finish filling these up and then I'll come back and show you the finished product. Okay guys, I got everything done. It's all canned up, stored in a dark, cool place.